Okay, well, thank y'all very much for coming. I know we got a small group here as far as our committee, and it's totally understandable. There's a lot going on, and obviously in this particular meeting, we're just having some hearings, and other meetings are having votes on legislation, and certainly that takes precedence over what we're doing. But I thank you very much, DCA, for again coming to present. And we have Miss McGee. Is that correct, Miss Brenda McGee? And thank you for being here today. And we got off to a good start last week and ran out of time, but that was a good thing. We got a lot of questions answered and had a lot of questions.
We did have lots of questions.
And today you can just let us know where you want to start, and we'll get busy.
Well, I think I'll just kind of do a quick overview of the Georgia Dream again. For the people that weren't here before, my name is Brenda McGee. I'm the Homeownership Division Director at DCA, and I wanted to talk with you about our homeownership programs. And the largest one, and we talked a little bit about this one last time, is the Georgia Dream program, which provides affordable mortgage financing to eligible first-time homebuyers across the state. We market that program through 97 lenders across the state, and they have about 250 offices. So locally, you can go into an office and do an application, and they can work with you there. So we assist those lenders by taking out that mortgage at the end. They do the closing, they do all of the regular work on it, and we end up buying the loan, so they do not have to keep that loan on their books and service that loan ongoing. So that's one reason that we're doing that program. And I think something that I didn't have last time I was here, I gave you a range of the income limits, and I went back and looked to see that last year, the first-time homebuyer program, we had about $53,000 was the average income on that program. So even though it goes up all the way to into the 70s, we're finding that the lower and moderate income is the area that we are really assisting in with the down payment assistance. So in conjunction with the Georgia Dream program, we do offer a down payment assistance in the range from $5,000 up to $15,000. So we are helping those homeowners get into that home. Our average loan amount last year was $135,000, so it is on the low end also. So we think we're serving that right group with that down payment assistance. So we have a full-time outreach person that works with the banks across the state. We provide training to their staff and to real estate professionals in those areas, so they are aware of the program. Housing counseling agencies know about us, so if they have someone coming to them to do some pre-purchase counseling, they can refer them to us for the down payment assistance. So, is there any specific questions on the Georgia Dream program that we didn't get to last time?
Well, thank you for going over it again, and you mentioned go to your local office.
Right.
Does every county, city have a local office?
Not every county or city, but we have a map on the DCA website under Georgia Dream. You can put in your location, and it will tell you the lenders that serve those counties. You know, a lot of things are done electronically now, so you don't really have to have someone in every county. But we're finding that there's always someone to help with applications, even if local housing counseling agencies can always help with applications too.
I know there'll be many more questions, but I think we've got a list of about 5 things that we kind of wanted to go over today.
Okay.
And if you could, I'm going to have you, if you don't mind, skip to Habitat for Humanity.
Right. So we actually have some Habitat representatives in the audience today, but we have a new partnership that we've developed with Habitat of Georgia. So that's going to support the local habitat so they can recycle their funds and build additional homes. So after the homes are built, they can sell that loan to DCA under the Georgia Dream program. So it frees up their funds. It's a good way for them to manage their cash. So we've started that in 2019. We don't expect to have as many loans. We're probably going to be looking at about $1 million, but that this for the first year. But we hope that that will expand over the next few years as more habitats become aware of it. Like I said, we're working with Habitat of Georgia, and they will be getting the word out to all of their local chapters. So another program that we have in homeownership is Home Safe Georgia. We assist homeowners who've temporarily lost a job and gotten behind on their mortgage payments, or maybe they had some lost wages because of a medical or family event. They could have had to have taken time off to take care of parents or brothers or sisters and have lost those wages. So we have a one-time program where we can reinstate them up to $50,000 on past due payments and bring them current, as long as they can afford their payments going forward.
Okay. How does that 50,000 get paid back?
It is in the form of a second or third mortgage on the home. It is forgiven if the homeowner remains in that home for 5 years. We forgive it at a rate of 20% over 5 years. So it's an incentive for them.
20% per year,
Right.
5 years, so I'm going to pay that back.
You do not have to pay that back. So that has been a very popular program. We've spent about, in total, we have spent about $290 million on that program, and we've helped about 14,000 homeowners save their homes from foreclosure.
A lot since the recession.
Well, we've had to change. It has. We have had to change what the target of that money was for. Originally, we were paying mortgage payments for homeowners while they were looking for a job, but as we have seen the economy change, we do not have the high unemployment numbers like we had, so we've switched it to a reinstatement program, and we've also are doing a program on negative equity. We call it underwater. So if you owe more than your home is worth, we will help you pay down that balance. And
Where does this money come from? Is this Fed money?
It's federal money.
How's it allocated?
It was allocated to states in 2011 we had 18 states in the District of Columbia received the funding. If you had a high unemployment rate, a high foreclosure rate, it's actually recovered TARP money that came back from banks is where it came from.
Okay.
So
this
that program will be ending when we use the remaining $38 million of the $370 million that we originally got from that program.
That's where I was going. So it is a limited time and a
Yes.
limited amount. Okay.
We also have been using some of that money for down payment assistance, the $15,000 that we talked about in distressed counties.
You can roll it over to the DREAM program?
We did. We used it for the Georgia Dream program. And we originally had 10 counties in that program. I think maybe one of you gentlemen asked about Gwinnett, I think. We did have Gwinnett in there originally in the down payment assistance of $15,000, and we've helped, I pulled a report, we've helped over 450 homeowners purchase a home in Gwinnett County with that $15,000. That will be forgiven if they remain in that home for 5 years. So that hopefully they will stay there. It has to be an existing home. So the purpose of the program had to be to prevent foreclosure. So we had to we had to look at how we could define preventing foreclosure, and we determined that if they bought an existing home that was vacant, had been sitting there vacant, then that was a good way to spend the money. So Treasury did approve that program for us. So
That home is condo or, you know,
Right.
single dwelling, okay.
as long as it meets the guidelines for the Georgia Dream program, their income and the loan limits. So the last program that I wanted to talk with you about on the homeownership side is a program called the CHIP program. It's where we get funding from HUD for the program. We provide funds to local governments and other community organizations for new construction or to rehab existing loans in communities. In 2018, we spent $7.6 million to 15 communities to help rehab homes and build new homes. So normally applications are taken for that program from September through December of each year, and an award is made in March of each year for that program.
I'm assuming that these homes have to be up to a certain standard when you talk about rehabilitation. I mean, how do you determine if a house is worth saving or not, I guess was my question.
Well, we really leave that up to the community. They would bid for those funds and give us a proposal of
Okay.
how they were going to spend the money.
So who have you found in the community that usually heads this up on the communities that have actually used it? Who has actually taken the initiative and takes the lead on it?
I have here a list of the 2018 grantees. City of Adel, Albany, Augusta, Colquitt, Commerce, Cordele, Dawson, Gainesville, Hinesville, Pembroke, Rome, Sandersville, Thomasville, Habitat for Humanity, and City of Washington and Waynesboro were the 2018 recipients.
So it sounds like all of it's been cities pretty much, and one Habitat for Humanity, but mainly
Right,
the
so
cities
it's
are the ones
mainly
that take the
cities.
initiative. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'll be glad to pass this out if anybody wants a copy of it. I know we're about to award the next year's funds. I think that should be announced in the next 30 days.
I'm just curious, do y'all also maintain these homes? Do you maintain them? Do you go back and check to make sure they're still in good shape and this sort of thing, or?
On the rehab,
Mhm.
I am not that familiar with the rehab. If you, so I would not want to answer that. That's something that we do in our multifamily area as far as the awarding of those funds. It is a homeownership piece, but I don't believe that we do that, but I am not sure.
The reason I ask is I've heard kind of in two different places now that the number 1 and 2 causes of children missing school are oral health and asthma. And I know that a lot, of course, oral health, we can just teach our children how to brush their teeth better, right? But asthma, a lot of this is apparently caused by mold and conditions that are not good, where they're living. And, that's great that y'all are providing all this housing. Don't get me wrong. I'm just curious, is it being maintained?
I just can't say.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Hobson, question?
Thank you, Chairman. I want to kind of go back to the chairman's question regarding who heads up this particular program. Who would initiate and inform the community of this type of program?
I think they do it through annually through our qualification plan. They do hearings across the state. very similar to what Laurel Hart said they do on the multifamily. They do the same thing on this program.
Can I speak further, Mr. Chairman? I'm sorry. So, in communities such as Doherty County, you may not necessarily, we may not necessarily have people who are tuned into those particular avenues. So what other ways would you recommend getting that information out to the community?
A lot of these communities are a member of the GIG program, where they go and learn all about all of the programs that DCA offers. So there's normally a representative from every city and county at those annual meetings.
And what is that meeting again?
GIG, help me, Bithia, GIG.
Georgia Initiative for Community Housing.
Yes.
And we also work with GMA and other partner organizations to get
You want to come up, because I couldn't hear what you said. I don't know if anybody else did or not, but introduce yourself, please.
Sorry.
great. Chairman Committee, my name is Vidya Ratnasamy. I'm a Senior Housing Policy Analyst with DCA. So I was saying we work with GMA and other community partners like that to get the word out to communities
Okay.
across the state. And we're always happy to come out and speak to community leaders about the program as well.
So the training comes through GMA meetings. Is that what you said earlier?
Yes, so we
Okay.
have a strong
Okay.
communication network with them.
Okay.
So do you know if those houses are maintained?
So the rehab ones, yes. So since we use federal funds, we have compliance regulations that go along with those, which include in the field kind of audits and check-ins.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Representative Dewey McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I do appreciate the way we get information out. I'm just concerned that as a legislator that, you know, we don't know that you're there in our community, I'm just trying to figure out, is there a way that, you know, we love GMA, but GMA is not elected by the community. You know, we're elected by the community. So I just hope that there's a way that you all can reach out to some of us. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if that's possible or not, but it's just a recommendation I'd like to see, you know.
Well, Representative McLean, we talked about that a little bit last week, that we're the biggest advocates and the biggest sales team they have. And so the more we know, obviously, the more we can get the word out. And again, when they're actually going to be, not only that, but when they're going to be in our area, we certainly want to be made aware of it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm asking if that's possible. You know, I don't know if you all have all of our emails and address, but there's only 180 of us. It's not like it's, you know, it's not like it's a ton of us.
Well, what we've tried to do before is, I know HomeSafe came in and spoke with all of your constituent services people here and gave a presentation of, if they get phone calls, how they can refer people to us and the program guidelines. So we've tried to do some of that, but we're certainly open to doing anything that we can to make you more aware of all the DCA programs. So any avenue.
It's the programs, but what I'm talking about, you physically being in my area, and you know, if you're in Albany, I would prefer that you reach out to Representative Hobson. Please don't reach out to me.
Right.
But if you're in Gwinnett County, in Lawrenceville, Norcross, Duluth area, it'd be great if, you know, because I want them at least to know that even if I didn't bring the program to them, I would at least want to have the perception that I brought them the program.
Right, and we
Thank
do.
you.
We do try to. I don't know that we've done as much with the state government. We usually, on congressional districts, will reach out to the representatives. You know, whomever that happens to be, if we're there. But we will certainly do, and we do it some with the state. You know, we told you on the last one, we did a couple of events in Savannah, and we had the representative there from the area. So we try to do that if possible. But every time we do one, we will certainly get our representative and make sure you are aware that we're going to be there and we're going to be doing things, and we'll take that information back.
Thank you.
All we need, just an email.
Thank
I
you.
mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not too hard. You're going to be doing events. You're going to be emailing people anyway. Just put us on the list in our district. That'd be great.
Because Bithia handles a lot of our outreach activities on certain areas, so we will certainly take that back and see what we can, you know, we can get you on there.
I'm gonna let you take a break just a minute. Representative Fry wanted a minute to speak on Habitat, if you don't mind.
Okay.
You stay there. I'll move over here. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I just want to be here. I saw Habitat was on the list and figured I'd come over here and answer any questions that anybody might have about it. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all about housing. It's something that is very near and dear to my heart. Have been the director of Habitat for Humanity for about 12 years and engaged with the affiliate for about 20. I appreciate the programs that you've been discussing and stuff that you work on, and looking forward to getting that paperwork that we need for that partnership with the Georgia Dream program. Obviously, I'm a big advocate of home ownership. I think it's through home ownership that this whole country was founded, the land ownership, and that it's the best way that we've seen to show positive outcomes for children coming from homes that are owned by their parents, but also a way to bridge the wealth gap and the wealth disparity in our communities through home ownership. You know, when I was little, I had my grandmother, Fannie Mae Price, told me something I'll never forget was don't sell your land because it's the only thing that they don't make more of. And you just imagine how many folks that don't have somebody like Fannie Mae Price telling them that information, and the importance of owning the property can be best illustrated in a study that we hired Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State to do several years ago, maybe 3 years ago. And the outcomes that we had based on that study, they interviewed all the Habitat homeowners across the state of Georgia, and the outcomes were tremendous. And some of the most significant points that I'd like to point out to y'all, and I have all of this in a presentation, also have results of the study that I could bring in. But the kids will do better in school. They have less behavioral problems. They're more likely to graduate high school. They're more likely to go on to secondary education opportunities, and they're more likely to own their own business. And all of these things you see coming from people who live in their homes. I think as a state, and notwithstanding the great work that DCA does, but a lot of people think about the idea of affordable rental. But living in an affordable rental might change the needle a little bit by having a little bit of extra money in your pocket. But really what I feel like with the statistical outcomes that we have based on the Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State studies is that the state really needs to be looking at ways to get people into their homes that they own rather than focusing on giant multifamily pockets of low income, which we have seen as a failed experiment from the 1950s and 1960s. And you can argue that, well, what about all the folks that lost their homes during the downturn? And that's based on bad banking, not qualifying your homeowners. Habitat has one of the lowest homeowner foreclosures default of anywhere. Even during the downturn, we were looking at about 1% to 2%, whereas Georgia, I think, I know Gwinnett was up in the 16 or 17%, 18%. So the idea behind our success is the pre-selection of qualified homeowners. And Representative Silcox, to your question, as far as we're concerned, the majority of our homeowners, people say, are these houses maintained? And I always tell a little story. It's like when my buddy was trying to sell his house down the street from me, I swore to him that I'd get a yard guy to do my yard until he sold his house, because I didn't maintain my house as well as a lot of folks that I build homes for, you know. And so I think we're looking at a random cross-section of the population when we're talking about our Habitat homeowners. They literally just don't have the money it takes to afford the real estate in the area that they live in. Because our folks are working, they make good decisions, they have decent credit scores, and we provide a mortgage to them. The mortgage just is in their realm of affordability. Just to give an example, it's not going to be a statewide example. Other municipalities will have different things to say. But currently our house price is $80,000 We amortize that for 25 years at 0% interest, and it results in a payment of $267 a month plus taxes and insurance. And you want to talk about some folks who are like, well, what happens to the houses, you know? Well, you can't pry people out of these houses, because this is a group of our population that has never thought that they would be able to own their own home. And this was all started when I had one of my homeowners named Jackie come in the office one day to pay her payment. And I said, Jackie, I said, how those kids doing? And I was the construction manager at the time and had literally built her home by myself with her. And she said, they're not kids anymore. They're off in college. And I said, golly, they were on scholarship at a college in South Carolina. I said, Jackie, do you think that this would have ever happened if you did not own your own home? And she said no. And then I was like, bang, light bulb, we got to figure this out. So, you know, this is just talking about the awesome program that I work for, and I might be biased, but I'm biased not because I work there, but because I know that it works. And it's the best way to pull people out of poverty and has the best outcomes for the kids as far as their government assistance reduced by 70% of the ones that were surveyed. Reduced off of or reduce our government
Come
assistance.
back again and talk to us, because I know DCA's got some more things that they've got to go over today, but obviously you're passionate about this. I really like what you're saying, and I know that Habitat is only one program within DCA, and I'd say how DCA could not possibly fit the need of the many, many people who need a place to live, affordable, or a new home. But it is a piece of the puzzle. Can you tell me how many houses have been built and what the capacity would be for DCA? I mean, for Habitat?
For Habitat, right now, you know, we're the 15th largest builder in the United States. During the downturn, we got up to about 5 or 6, and that's not a good spot for me personally for us to be in. That means our economy is hurting. Nationwide, about 1,200 or 1,400. And I'm asking Ryan Willoughby, he's our state director. So it's not, at our capacity right now, it's not necessarily going to be the magic bullet, but we can certainly expand capacity in the state through partnerships with the state, and that's kind of what I've been advocating for the past couple of years. Hopefully a stronger partnership with DCA, getting that paperwork out a little bit quicker would help us out a lot. And any new programs that would come up with in the future to look at with a good eye, because the outcomes are so high.
Okay, Representative Silcox has a question.
Yes, I really appreciate your input, Spencer. This is, or Representative Fry. I will say that I was in charge of a mental health working group for Fulton County this past fall, and they showed overwhelmingly in all the studies that, as well-meaning as many of these organizations that do shelters, that do soup kitchens for the homeless, that overwhelmingly the thing that helps these people the most is to have a real home.
That's right.
And so I know it is the goal of Fulton County to pull together a whole bunch of resources, and it's just a goal right now. But ideally, to have about between 525 and 550 units across Fulton County that would give people at least a temporary home where they could get stabilized, get on the right medications that they need. And we could really, it goes to so many problems. It goes to mental health, of course. It goes to the opioid crisis, the HIV epidemic, sex trafficking, just all these very systemic issues. So I just applaud your involvement. My kids got to help build a couple of Habitat houses while they were in high school, and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
and really think it's a great program, and hope maybe we can get Fulton County to partner with you guys.
Absolutely. And to answer a question you brought up earlier regarding healthy homes and if these homes are maintained, we definitely see that in the Habitat homes and the reports from the homeowners from the study I referenced, that the health of the children actually was increased, and they had less asthma problems, breathalyzers they had to use, which is a real interesting part of the study we didn't expect to show up.
One last question. Do you you do require people who are going to have a Habitat for Humanity home to put time and labor into
Yes, sir.
and so has that been an issue, trying to find people willing to do that?
No, sir, not at all. I think that there's 3 criteria that we use to select a homeowner. You have to have a need for housing. You have to have the ability to pay and the willingness to partner. And what you're referencing is the willingness to partner. Our particular affiliate requires up to 500 hours before you can move in. We'll get them, they work on other homes, they work in our offices, they work in our stores, and they'll get to 200. I've got 3 homeowners right now that are at their 200, and so we're starting to pick their lot, pick their house plan, and starting to move forward on that track. And if they get to 500 and we're still building their house, well, they still come out. I've had families get 900 before. And I actually instituted a policy of when you get to 200, stop, and then when we start building your house, because they did 900 out. I mean, it is a lot of work they put in over there.
Well, thank you very much. And we need to get back to DCA, and thank you for coming in, and we will talk some more.
Anytime you need me, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Okay, Ms. McGee, I'm sorry I cut you off. So I had a couple more things on my list. I don't know if you still have items on your list. Housing for individuals with special needs, and also
So-
reducing the homelessness.
So that's gonna be, yep, we're gonna switch here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Shawn Williams. I am the Division Director for the Housing Assistance Division, which encompasses the Housing Choice Voucher Program, as well as our Office of Homelessness and Special Needs. So first, to start out with our Housing Choice Voucher Program, we receive 100% of our funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, where we administer the Housing and Urban Development, I said that, where we administer 15,000 vouchers throughout the state of Georgia in 149 counties. We make sure that families are eligible by determining their income and their criminal backgrounds, and we conduct inspections once we determine that they're income eligible to ensure that they are residing in decent, safe housing and sanitary housing. One of the programs that we also offer under the Housing Choice Voucher Program is referred to as our Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program, where we administer 659 vouchers through Atlanta Metro, Clark, Dublin, Fulton, Gwinnett, and Hinesville. Again, that's 659 vouchers for veterans. We collaborate with the VA. They make the referrals to us for eligible veterans so they can find and live in decent, safe, and affordable housing.
Thank you very much. Now, on the 569 vouchers for vets, is that different than what the federal government puts out for vouchers for veterans?
Yes, that's a separate program that HUD sponsors with our co-sponsors with the VA. And 659 are the amount that HUD has allocated for DCA to administer on behalf of eligible veterans.
And it sounds like these are in the locations where veteran hospitals are located or bases or.
Right, we try to do catchment areas, correct.
Okay.
Because
And-
again, they have to have the services and with the housing, so it's a coupled relationship.
So if they are afforded a voucher from the Veterans Association, will they still be eligible for this? Or is this to fill in a gap that the federal government's missing? I'm not sure. What's the difference in the 2 vouchers?
So the separate program is just for applicants who, for the tenant-based voucher program, or those who may need assistance, who may work, who may be elderly or disabled, who just need assistance with their rent. That's just referred to as the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as Section 8. The
Okay.
VASH voucher, or the VASH program, or Veterans Affairs Supportive Housing Program, is a separate program which assists veterans only. They are referred to us specifically from the VA. The VA provides supportive services, and we provide a voucher for that family to go out on their own and find decent, safe, and affordable housing.
Okay, going back to the housing voucher, you said it was 1,500, I believe, total in the state?
Well, that's for DCA that we administer. 15,000.
I meant 15,000. Who else administers other than DCA?
The City of Atlanta, Bibb, Clayton, Cobb, DeKalb, Chatham, Muskogee, Sumter, Glenn, and Richmond.
And that's federal money, is it not?
That is 100% federally
So
funded.
they signed up, these cities signed up to be in a distribution for the vouchers, or how did they award that outside of DCA?
Well, so HUD determines, based on whatever formula that they're going to use, what the needs are in that area. Housing authorities all throughout, there are like over 3,000 housing authorities all throughout the United States, and they determine the needs of participants or families in those areas, in those communities and jurisdictions, and then determine what the need is for housing for families.
So like local housing authorities can send in to DCA, or do they send straight to the federal government asking for vouchers?
So the federal government has a relationship with each and every housing authority
Okay.
that they sign. So we have one that we entered into with HUD. City of Atlanta Housing Authority has a partnership that they enter into with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to administer programs on HUD's behalf.
Okay, and then on the housing vouchers that you do statewide, the 15,000, that's based on the same criteria the cities use, but you just administer it?
So some housing authorities, known as moving to work agencies, have initiatives that they create on their own. If you're not designated as a moving to work agency, then HUD has criterias that we must comply with, a lot of regulations that we must adhere to.
Okay, now I'm fixing to get into the tricky questions. Out of these 15,000, what's the average age of the people who, not the average age of the person, the average age of the voucher that's been given out to a particular home?
The average age of the voucher or the average age of the head of household who holds the
The
voucher?
voucher. For instance, if a voucher is applied for and received, and someone is in that home, how long have they had that voucher on average? They have them 5 years, 10 years?
Probably on average about 10 years.
And how many new vouchers come available each year?
So we experience attrition daily. And what we do is the last time that DCA actually opened its wait list was in 2016. We received over 80,000 applications. In order to try to service as many participants or applicants as we possibly could, we had to drill that down to about 21,000 applications. And we are currently in the process of still selecting applicants from that wait list. So we have about 10,000 now that we're currently pulling off the wait list to determine income, criminal background eligibility, and issuing vouchers to those families.
So you anticipate adding about 10,000 to the 15,000?
Well, again, attrition continues to factor. Our maximum number is no more than about 15,000, 16,000 vouchers from HUD. So looking at attrition daily, looking at lease-ups daily, we try to stay within that range.
Okay, so you pretty much run an average of 15,000 all the time, even with when you open up and open up for people to apply for new vouchers, that's with the understanding that through nutrition that people have opened up more slots. It's not that we've been given more slots.
Correct. We do not receive new funding for additional housing assistance. That, again, is just through attrition.
And what is the average voucher worth?
Our average per unit cost or average voucher of what we pay for rent or...
I know you pay rent different amounts in different parts of the state. And
So the average per unit cost that we subsidize on behalf of an eligible family is about $609 at this time.
And you have to meet certain goals, I'm assuming, by the federal government to continue to be in good standings. Is that based on how much money you have or based on how many people you help with vouchers?
So again, HUD looks at key performance indicators such as, are we complying with the wait list? Are we ensuring that units meet housing quality standards? Are we ensuring that we're doing calculations according to HUD's requirements to ensure that families continue to remain eligible for the program?
So okay, I guess what I'm saying is you got 15,000 average. Does the pot of money always stay the same, or does it move based on 15 different costs all over the state?
So no, the pot of money usually remains consistent. So they're not going, regardless of if we decided to lease up 16,000 participants, they're not going to pay us for over that amount. But the formula is a very unique formula that HUD has come up with.
And so did they give you any direction as to where you need to serve people?
No, they
Or-
do not. They know that our jurisdiction is 149 counties. We do not designate. That's why it is referred to as housing choice, because families are allowed to select to reside in any community that they would like to. We try to provide information where people have opportunities for employment, for education, for transportation, so they can work towards self-sufficiency.
So what I think I'm hearing is one of the criteria is one of the strong pieces of the puzzle is you would prefer or you would lean toward giving vouchers in an area to where there were more jobs available?
We don't lean towards providing vouchers to a specific area. We
Well, you-
issue a voucher to an eligible participant, and they can go and search in any of the 149 counties that they choose to.
Okay, but earlier I thought you said that you tried to locate them in areas where there's jobs so they can move.
We don't
No.
locate them. Again, we give them information to
Oh,
try
okay.
to let them know what areas may have opportunities for transportation, employment, education.
So when they get the voucher, basically, they can travel and go live anywhere they want to, provided there's a place for them.
That is correct. Housing choice.
How do you currently decide who's going to get the voucher?
We don't determine who's going to get the voucher. What happens again, if there's an eligible applicant on the wait list, then it's by that person that comes up next to the wait list. We select them, we pull them off of our wait list. We do a criminal background check to make sure that they are not a lifetime sex offender, that there's no methamphetamine drug use, and that's the criteria that HUD stipulates. And then we make sure, again, we look at their criminal background check, and then we determine that they meet the income eligibility criteria, meaning that they can't exceed more than 30% of the area median income.
Okay. Representative McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was scratch off these. I had 12 answers, but you was on such a roll. I was just scratching off. I almost was gonna wave.
I knew you would get tired if I didn't ask all the questions.
I didn't answer all of them? What?
You were.
No.
You were. You said 149 counties, or
Yes, sir.
so were there 10 counties we're not part of? There's 159 counties in Georgia. I just didn't
There
know.
certainly
So
are.
there are 10 counties that we're not.
There are 10 counties that have their own housing agencies or housing
Super.
authorities.
Thank you. That
You're
makes me feel good. At least I can scratch that one off, Mr. Chairman. And the other one, you said it was 609 per voucher. Was that like a per month, per week, per?
The average monthly per unit cost is about $609. We pay rents, directly to the landlords, and that average amount that we pay on behalf of an eligible participant is about $609.
Okay. And then I guess a follow-up on what the chairman said too is that we have 15,000 vouchers. You explained that to me. So if 25 people, doing, in nutrition just go away, we fill in 15. So in essence, we have 80,000 people applying. I mean, I guess how do you pick the 15 or 20 that gets it? I'm trying to figure out because again, here what we try to do is, we'll take those top 20 and then there's 30 more, 21, 22. Do 21, 22 pull up to the top or do we reapply again?
We don't have to, once you're on the list, you remain on the list unless once you're selected off the list, either you're eligible or you're deemed ineligible for whatever reason. Maybe you did not meet the criminal background or you exceed the income criteria that HUD has established. So once you're pulled off and you meet the criteria for eligibility, then you are issued a voucher and you can search. HUD requires that we give you at least 60 days to search. DCA provides 120 days because we know it's sometimes challenging to find decent, safe, and affordable housing. So families receive 120 days to search for housing. If they need an extension, we try to ensure that they are truly searching because of the need for housing. And then they lease up, and then we start that process. But because of attrition, because of people self-selecting to no longer participate, we continue to pull applicants from our wait list, determine eligibility, and start that same process over.
I mean, I guess the question I was saying was, if I was 21 or 22, do
You
you
come
call me?
up.
Do you call me next?
Yes.
Or do I?
You
Okay.
come up next.
So it's always, okay.
Next, next, next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Silcox.
So how many people do you have on your wait list?
At this time, we have about 10,000 remaining from that, when we opened our wait list in 2016.
Okay. And can you add criteria to the HUD criteria, or do you? Or you just go by the HUD the federal criteria?
We must adhere to the HUD
course.
criteria. We can, but I don't know what specific criteria, so it would need to, of course, ensure that we're not in violation
Of course, yeah, yeah. Just curious if you could add help in the selection process.
Do you keep track of how many people actually eventually raise their income enough that they get outside of the voucher program?
We, again, have to review their income annually, so we are able to monitor and look back every year, as long as they're on the program, to determine how their income has changed.
But how many people ever graduate outside and move on? They don't need it anymore, I guess is what I'm asking.
I would have to go back and look at the number to look at how many families
I was
have.
just wondering if it's successful in helping people move up. I guess that was my.
Well, so we have a program that we refer to as a family self-sufficiency program, but families still don't, as long as they don't exceed the income criteria established by the federal government, then they can remain on the wait list, or on the program, excuse me.
Do you know what that is?
I do not. I can get that information back to you.
Also, is it true or not true that if somebody receives a voucher and they have kids or grandkids living with them, and the individual received the voucher and that individual maybe passed away or something, that voucher gets relayed on to the dependent who was living in the home?
That is true. HUD allows for a remaining family member to receive the voucher. If it's a minor, then again, we're looking at the best welfare of a child to create stability for that family. But if it is an 18-year-old adult or someone in the household who's 18 years of age or older, then yes, HUD allows that person to remain as a remaining household member to receive the rental subsidy.
I get concerned about people being trapped. You know, that I know there's nothing you can do about it. I just want to express my opinion. That we hold people down because they're afraid they're going to get up and above so that they won't receive the voucher anymore. And even the dependents who may live in the same household see that as a benefit. If I stay here and live till grandmother or grandfather dies, then I'll get the voucher and I can stay here and live and get the voucher. And it doesn't create an incentive for them to move outside of that. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever brought it up. And I know there's nothing you can do about it. It's a federal program, but it is a concern. And that's why I was asking you how long the vouchers were stayed in the family or with the individual.
So again, we have people that, yes, do move out. The mother may move or pass away, or someone in the household pass away. And again, our concern is for the safety and well-being of any minor children that may be residing in the household to create stability for them as well. But yes, that is a federal.
And is it not true too that when you open up the applications for vouchers, they don't just come from the state of Georgia, but they come from all over the United States?
HUD allows anyone from any state to apply.
And then they can come here and live if they receive the voucher. If they're next on the list, they can come from wherever they are as long as they live in Georgia for a year. Is that correct? Then
HUD does allow that, yes.
And then they can take the voucher with them and go back home.
HUD does allow that, yes.
And when you say HUD does allow that, is there any is any wavering from that as far as the state? Do we have any say-so in that at all?
HUD does not give us a say-so, and that's referred to as portability.
So they doesn't allow it; they mandate it.
HUD
Is that correct?
mandates
Okay.
that a family may go because, again, if they're offered an opportunity for employment in another state and we withhold that opportunity for them, then that's not helping them work towards self-sufficiency.
And so now when we do open up for applications, they do come in from all over the United States, I'm assuming.
HUD allows them to apply from any state.
And how do we get word out to rural Georgia when still so many people don't have computers? And I know so much is done on computers and by emails and that kind of advertising, but how do we actually reach out? Because the last time that was opened up, I didn't even know it was open.
We reached out through social media. We
There
post
again,
on
that's computer, right? Or
Through
phone, cell phones, okay.
through social media, through
Okay.
cell phones. We try to do blasts. We've gone out to areas, to city governments to let them know. We've put it in newspapers. We tried numerous avenues to make sure that people, regardless of where they are aware that we're opening our wait list. So we're aware that we work with people who may be elderly and disabled, who may not use social media, but we try many avenues as possible to make them aware. Local newspapers we try to reach out to. Their local city halls, we try to make sure that they're aware of it. Our numerous ways. I mean, we have representatives throughout the regions for the state. We try to make sure that they're aware of it and opening, when we're closing, so they have the opportunity to apply as well. We provide a call center, so those who may not be able to go online and apply can call into a call center and apply as well.
How long, I mean, did it used to be, I don't know, but it used to be where counties got so many each county, or based on population, or how long has it been the way it is now? Obviously, I don't think it was always been to where anybody in the United States could apply. And I don't even know if Georgia was like only one application pot, or if it was applications per county or per district.
So each housing authority controls their own wait list. We are DCA, so again, what we are obligated not to do is be in violation of any civil rights. So we administer the Housing Choice Voucher Program throughout the state of 149 counties. So we don't take 5,000 vouchers and issue it just in southern Georgia or northern Georgia. Wherever an applicant chooses to live, that's the housing choice option that they do have.
But that, obviously that's changed though, right? Did it used to be
No.
that way?
There was a difference in the way we were administering. So again, we wanted to ensure that we were complying with all federal rules and regulations required by HUD.
How long ago was that we decided?
It's always been the requirement by HUD that
How long ago did we decide we were going to get in compliance? I guess that's the question.
About the end of 2014.
Okay. And I don't have a problem with it. I'm just trying to understand better. And that's why I was asking you about how much money and how the feds actually appreciated the way you were running your program. Was it how many people you could put in homes and help? Or is it how much money that we could spend, knowing that we could spend, that we used all that they sent us regardless of where it went? Because obviously a voucher in the metro area is going to be more than a voucher in a rural area.
That's correct.
And so it's not based on quantity of houses. It's just based on whoever comes up next on the list. And when the money runs out, it runs out.
That's correct.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we would be in violation if we just tried to cap someone residing in a certain jurisdiction, because that's not offering
Right.
housing choice.
And when do you expect has the Fed ever increased it from 15,000 or enough money that we could do more than 15,000?
Not recently, no.
Okay. Do you expect that they may, and when do you expect possibility of opening up again for new applicants?
We are looking to see if we should open the wait list at least by the end of this calendar year. And I'm sorry, I can't recall the first question that you asked.
I was just asking when you thought you would open it up, and if you expected the feds to ever increase the amount of money we would have, and particularly when you had 80,000 applications. But again, them coming from all over the United States, it's really hard to. How many of those are in Georgia?
15,000. And again, when 80,000, oh, you mean how many applied who resided in
Yes,
Georgia already?
yeah.
I don't have that number.
But
I
out of
know
the
that.
80,000 that filled out applications when you opened it up, how many of those the applications were from Georgia at that time in 2016, whenever you were opening it up? You have
I
any
do
idea?
not recall that number. I can follow up with you on that number.
I just thought it might help us understand the need better if we had an idea how many from Georgia actually applied.
I understand.
I'm sorry, I'm sort of dominating the questions. Representative McLean, sure you got something, you fell asleep on me, didn't you? No.
I was just listening because you answered all the questions you was asking.
Okay.
Thank you very much, too, because,
Appreciate
again,
it.
my only concern is that, I guess the one question I wanna know is that if another state opens up their vouchers, our residents can apply for those vouchers as well, too, is that?
That is correct. Anytime a housing authority opens up, DeKalb County just recently opened their wait list, the end of December.
Okay.
And I don't know how they made their announcements, but we did try to share as
With-
much information with Georgians as possible that DeKalb County was accepting applications for their wait list.
Does their applicants go nationwide too, or on?
The U.S. Department of Housing and
That's
Urban
what you were
Development
saying, okay.
requires.
That's the way to grow your county.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry, I have an opportunity to go over the homelessness information.
Oh, okay, that's yours, yeah, absolutely, that's next on the list. Yes, sir, thank you.
God.
No, I know, I'm ready.
Oh, are you ready? Okay.
Got just a few minutes, I'm sorry, and,
That's okay. So for our Office of Homelessness and Special Needs, we have a lot of great programs. We were referred to as the Balance of State Continuum of Care, which we cover 152 counties throughout the state of Georgia. And in that area, we provide, we are the grant applicant for HUD to provide the funding, and we have subrecipients who we disperse the funds who actually administer the programs for eligible participants, which probably usually comprises of housing assistance and supportive services. We have programs such as Shelter Plus Care, Emergency Solutions Grant, which provides permanent supportive housing, our Housing Opportunity for Persons with AIDS program that provides housing and supportive services for eligible participants as well. We also, in collaboration with Department of Community Services, provide our Reentry Partnership Housing Program, which provides housing from 3 to 6 months for eligible population who is reentering society. And that, again, that's in collaboration with Department of Community Supervision, and those applicants are referred from that agency. We also provide assistance for our Home Access. This is a program that provides grant awards up to $10,000 to improve accessibility for people with disabilities, perhaps grab bars, perhaps to help make their home disability prepared for them to be able to remain in their home for a longer amount of time. That funding is through our SILK program, our State Independent Living Council program.
we don't have time for more questions because there's another committee waiting to use the room, but I do want to make this comment before we leave. I know we talk about this all being federal money, but I know that in 2016, the state tax credit alone in 2016 was over $23 million. And that $23 million for housing, in my understanding, goes over 10 years. Is that correct? So you're talking about $233 million that the state of Georgia participates in the housing programs. So it's not just all federal money because we give state tax credits on low-income housing. Is
That one, yes, sir. We
Okay.
certainly
I'm sorry,
do.
I'm changing to a different subject, but
Oh,
I want to
okay.
get that out before we left. Ms. McGee, you, am I correct on that? That's your department, right?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Well, I know that's the figures because I've got them from an audit that was done, but that was in 2016. So my point I'm trying to make is that Georgia has participated in quite depth with the tax credits. It's not just all federal money. And that's one of the reasons that we are interested in how DCA is conducting their business and making sure that they're doing what we think they should for the taxpayers.
Absolutely, Chairman. Those tax credits specifically are for the multifamily development side
Okay.
of things.
Not homes, but only for the multi.
For the development
For the
side of
low-income
things.
housing,
Yes, so they're the matching
For
tax
apartments,
credits,
okay.
so they can't be used
Yep.
with the other programs.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you clarifying that. Thank y'all very much for coming, and we'll adjourn.